know which way
it's going to work in our tracks.
Yeah, so we're going to go through the bass line and how it was done. In this case, we've just loaded up 2 instances of Massive soft synth by Native Instruments, which is a pretty good synth for making your own sounds, and
it's very easy to use.
Very easy to use.
Highly recommended for kind of beginners of getting into synthesis and stuff.
So we just wanted the bass line to be functional. We wanted it to have a good low end, and we just followed the pattern that the chords were doing, basically. So we layered 2 Massives up on top of each other. This is the first instance of Massive, layered with a higher kind of saw wave sound that has a bit of modulation on it, which you'll hear when it comes in. So that's the sub, which has a bit of LFO on the volume, and that's the higher saw or square wave, mixed between a saw and a square wave sound. And then there's the rest of the bass line, following the chord sequence, following the original piano that we took you through. So that's pretty much what we call just a functional bass line. It's got a solid low end, and it doesn't draw too much attention to itself, just fills out that low frequency spectrum that we're looking to fill. And then we layered it with a more harmonic driven mid-range bass sound. So this will be, still hear that other sound on top of it because that's a sample in audio, but it's been bounced anyway. So this was just a saw 2 wave going through a low pass filter with an LFO, and it's a very basic sound, which is generally the best way to go with bass. I mean, apart from the modulation aspects, the actual waves that you use should be pretty basic. I mean, there's no point going in too deep because there's not actually that much difference between them anyway.
And you're not going to really hear it beneath everything either. I mean, the sounds may not sound amazing by themselves, but within the context of the tune, they work perfectly.
So we'll do some pretty careful EQing as well. Like, as you can see, there's this is the second mid-range sound. We've got a chain of 8 plugins. We've got a pretty random chain there. It's probably technically completely wrong, but it was doing what we wanted it to, and it's basically resonant based, resonant peak EQing. So we'll be taking out
subtracting
sort of resonant peaks, which might be causing strange harmonics in the bass.
So like looking for stuff.
So we'll scroll across the
like
bass
this,
and look.
Finding the nasty resonant bits and just taking them down. Say there was
some might work and some might not. So the ones that don't work, you'll be using subtractive EQing, and the ones that do work, you'll be using additive EQing to bring them out, because those are the flavours that you'll want to focus on.
It's by taking a really narrow cue and just skirting along the frequency band, just looking for horrible resonant sounds, and then
nice resonant sounds.
But you've got to be careful not to take too much out. Sometimes you can just get a bit over surgical and make sounds too clean.
Yeah, the good thing about this kind of EQing is that you can isolate which parts of the frequency spectrum are making a sound like it does. Each bass sound will be made up out of loads of these kind of peaks within itself, and these are the ones that we're looking to control in order to get the bass sounding how we want it to. So what we've done is we've done a chain of, well, that's a pretty hefty sort of bandy kind of EQ setting. Got lots of crazy EQ settings here, but we're just trying to bring out, this is the BBE Sonic Maximizer, which brings up some top end as well. So we're just kind of messing around with the sound until what we've got is a very resonant, harmonic-y sound that, when layered on top of the sub bass, gives a very full effect in the mix. So this is the bass line with both bass sounds that we've showed you. What I'm going to do now is mute the second one that we showed you, and you can see how much life that actually adds to the sub. So that's just the sub on its own, and it just sounds a little bit flaky there. I'm not too keen on tunes that just have sub as bass. I like a little bit more, and so does Phil. So we always try and spend time getting that that lower mid warmth. So this is what this second massive part does.
It just provides the time really, because with the sub bass you get the weight, but sometimes you lose the note, and by providing that extra layer on top you can really hear the note coming through, the harmonic coming through, rather than just kind of the weight.
So that's pretty much the bass, although just incidentally we do use filtered versions of the bass in breakdowns as well, to kind of add a low warmth to the breakdowns. So this part would have stemmed from one of the massive parts.
Excuse the random atmospheric sound.
And that would be layered underneath the chords and pad sounds being filtered in and around the breakdown area.
Yeah.
Just to provide the kind of low warmth, but not enough to remove impact from the sub when it actually
drops.
I mean, the reason why it looks like that as well is because sometimes what you find with these old waves EQs is that they don't actually remove the frequencies that they're saying that they're removing. So you need to load them up again and do the same curve again, just to double whammy kind of effect to make sure it gets rid of those frequencies.
It's crazy. You can have a waves EQ taking out, say, like 150, and then put another one on. Take out the same amount, you can hear it taking out more than when you just have one on.
So
it shouldn't really work like that, but it just does.
So most would say it's a pretty good reason not to use these EQs, but these are actually really good EQs in general, and
they don't
take
up too much CPU. Yeah, exactly. Don't rape your CPU
at all. And actually applied a little bit of chorus to that mid-range sound as well, which is for most people a no-no because it's bringing in a stereo effect. This OTN plugin, you can basically monoize certain parts of the frequency spectrum with using this plugin. So we've got it at a setting of 256, which means that underneath that frequency everything will be in mono, according to the width that we've applied here. So if we turn that to stereo, that would mean that everything underneath 256 would be stereo. What we've done is made sure that there's a little bit of stereo up in the higher frequency spectrum, but down where we need everything to be mono and straight, everything's in mono, and so it's all cool. We've just done a pretty DJ-friendly intro.
32 bars, which is just kind of standard in our tunes to have kind of, well, I mean it's 32 bars of drum intro and then breakdown for 16 bars and then drop.
Actually the breakdown's for
32 bars and then drop.
What we've done is just, we wrote the main part of the drop first, and then we were thinking what can we do for intro, so we took some of the samples that we'd implemented into the main part of the drop and tried them just with drums at the beginning of the tune, and then we just switched around the rhythms and tried to get a little groove going that is quite easy to mix and doesn't sound messy with other tunes and doesn't have too many elements, because obviously we're making music for clubs, which is going to be mixed with other music, so I mean, we don't want to litter it too much with sounds.
We tend to do that quite a lot because we normally start a tune from the drop, from like the kind of groove, and then so we'll take sounds that we're using and implement them in different ways in the intro, just for like a bit of variation, but so it's easier to tie together.
So these are the sounds that we've used for the intro, which is the pad we showed you earlier. Only we've looped it on a more regular basis. Every bar, it comes in again, with the guitar fading in to kind of colour the mix increasingly more and more. So a couple little bits of vocal just to help it progress a little bit. Some high FM8 house sounds. Kind of messing around, providing textures.